From Woodley to Wood Avenue to 5953, the memories are so vivid. I was just a kid, didn't understand what was happening. I just knew that my parents were parting. I didn't ask anyone to explain it. I could see the love had dimmed, the bonds were weak. We lived in a beautiful home. I was small in size, so to me it was a mansion. But there were cracks on the walls, echoes of loud late night conversations. The words from those arguments echoed in the hall and in my head. Endless. That's why I was shocked every time I went to my cousin's place and saw how their parents related. I admired their life, began to hate mine. I didn't know at the time that every person has their own challenges, goes through their own pain, and just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, and just because their pain is different doesn't mean it doesn't sting. I was naive. These are the things I couldn't talk about as a kid. Might get you a beating, but most likely you wouldn't be taken seriously because what could you possibly know as a kid? But I could see, I could listen, and it was all being absorbed into my system. It was no surprise seeing the roof leak, the house flooding with tears and agony. Then came time to leave. I loved both of them, wanted both of them, but both of them couldn't stay together, so I had to live with one of them, the other one present but absent, but I needed both of them. I remember being bullied by my friends and crying, saying I'm going to tell my dad. It was a lie. Even if I did tell, he wasn't near. I had to learn to fight for myself. It was either that or be endlessly humiliated. Back to the departure. We got into a car, our things hurriedly packed. That was the end. That was the start. Minutes later we alighted. We had arrived. A new world. Eastlands, Jericho, house number 5953. The streets were still, all eyes on us. I felt famous. Everyone was curious. I didn't know it wasn't fame. There were no admirers. It was hunger, herbivorous, wanting a taste of the ones who had come from grace to grass. I thought I was smart. I was about to learn that books don't mean much in some parts of the world. I was about to be introduced to new teachers, Mr. Dagger and Mr. Gunn. Previously, I could ride my bike in the estate even when it was dark, but there was no estate in this part of the world. This estate was called the Ghetto, subdivided into parts. Ours was Panku. There was Hong Kong. The distance between the two was probably a 3-minute walk, but it could be your final walk if it was the wrong time. Theft was life, day and night. I remember my big brother coming back from the shop one day and falling face down on the chair, crying. Someone had attempted to rob him in broad daylight. Previously, the sound I heard at night was that of cars entering the estate. You knew whose dad it was that had arrived based on the Mercedes parked outside. And this side, the only thing you heard at night was screams of victims. I wouldn't be here if it were not for my mother's prayers. That was our self-defense mechanism. Everyone else had guns and daggers. We had the word, and it's written that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. I only knew how to speak English. It was a distinguishing factor about me. I wish I could fit in, but there was no camouflaging. Our faces were shining, full of hope and dreams. Our clothes were neat, but that was fast changing. I tried hiding from reality by immersing myself in virtual games, some honorable mentions like GTA. I wasn't a fan of FIFA. It was hard, so yes, I played every version of PES. Says a lot about me. Black Monday. All of this was an attempt to get away, but eventually I had to comfort reality. The reality that I was no longer in a private school, that appearing in the noisemakers list would earn me a wound. Chips and sausages were no longer part of my menu. I thought it was a punishment, but God doesn't make mistakes. After all was said and done, I made it out with God's helping hand. He knows the end from the beginning. Pain may come in the middle, but in the midst of it, don't forget that there's someone who loves you deeply. Trust him. Humans are buildings, and God has the blueprint.